Emergence of democracy, a historical perspective. Different definitions of democracy have been given by the scholars. Herodotus, a Greek philosopher also known as father of history, said, "Democracy is that form of government in which the supreme power of the state is vested in the members of the community as a whole." According to Seeley, democracy is a government in which everyone has a share. Emergence of democracy. Democracy originated in the Greek city of Athens. It is said that male citizens of Athens gathered together about 40 times a year in what was known as People's Assembly. All citizens, except women, slaves, and foreign residents, played a part in decision-making. It was direct democracy, which is the real form of democracy. But it cannot be practiced in modern times because of the size of population in big states. Let us trace the different stages that led to gradual growth and development of democracy. The story of democracy is as old as the ancient Greek civilization. States in ancient Greece were small and self-sufficient. All the adult citizens except women, slaves, and foreign nationals were called active citizens who participated in lawmaking, a pattern of government that combined monarchical, aristocratic, and democratic elements were found in Roman civilization. It was the Roman law and belief in unity which influenced developments in Europe. It had representative elements wherein offices required popular election. A system called feudalism was practiced in Europe in the Middle Ages. It comprised three elements: the lord or nobles, the vassal or recipients of land, and the fief or land. The vassal used to provide military detachment to the lord in exchange of feudality. The obligations and relations between lord, vassals, and fief formed the basis of feudalism. When feudalism came to an end in the 14th century, law and order was enforced in many parts of Europe. Nationalism and representative democracy were two consequences of this development. Legislative bodies began to emerge, which were composed of representatives who no longer belonged to aristocratic families. Developments in England. Modern democracy can be traced back to the Glorious Revolution of 1688 in England, which established a constitutional form of government based on the rule of law. The Parliament became supreme and the kings had power, but they exercised it only in name. They had to agree to written laws passed by the Parliament. Britain is regarded as the first modern democracy because royal absolutism came to an end after the Civil War that broke in the 17th century, and power was transferred from the Crown to the two Houses of Parliament. These houses were known as the House of Lords and House of Commons, of which the latter was the elected house. However, the right to vote was based on the ownership of property. The Reform Act of 1832 gave the upper middle class the right to vote. The Chartist movement, which came about the middle of the 19th century in England, demanded that more classes of people be given the franchise. In 1838, 6 members of Parliament and 6 men of working class formed a committee and drew up some objectives which came to be known as People's Charter. The objectives were universal suffrage for all men at over the age of 21, annual election of Parliament and salary for members of Parliament, voting by secret ballot, to do away with the condition which required property as a qualification for Parliament, equal-sized electoral districts. The Chartist movement is significant for the fact that it demanded for universal male franchise for the first time. It resulted in the Parliament yielding to the control of working class. Russian Revolution of 1917 redefined the concept of democracy. Political equality without social and economic rights had no meaning, according to revolutionaries. We achieved independence on 15th August, which marked a glorious chapter in India's freedom movement. The makers of our constitution envisioned an India in which every citizen would get political, social, and economic equality. So they provided for a parliamentary democracy with a representative form of government. The preamble of our constitution declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic with political, social, and economic freedom of thought, expression, faith and belief, universal adult franchise. The right to vote for each person above the age of 18 years is known as universal adult franchise. In India, we have representative government, which means that during elections, we elect our representatives who rule us on our behalf. The government formed by these elected representatives is accountable and responsible towards the people. For the sake of elections, voting is done by a secret ballot. No one knows whom the other one is voting for. This gives the voter the courage to cast his or her vote for the person of his or her choice. So we can say that elections are an integral part of democracy. Election is a contest between different political parties to win the major support of the people, so as to form the government. The political party that gets the largest number of seats in the elections forms the government. If no single party gets a majority, then two or more political parties join hands to form the government. Such a setup is known as coalition government. The entire process involved in conducting an election is managed by the Election Commission. An election commission is an autonomous body. It ensures that every aspect of the election process is managed freely and fairly. Different stages of election are selection of candidates, nomination, allotment of symbols, campaign, casting of votes, counting of votes, declaration of election results. In India, elections are held after every 5 years and they are called general elections. By-elections are held when a seat falls vacant in a constituency due to the death of the candidate or his resignation, or due to any other reason. Mid-term elections are held if the government is dissolved due to a no-confidence motion. Political parties. Political parties are a must for the smooth running of democracy. Governments are formed and brought down by political parties. They keep people informed about the policies of the government as well as its shortcomings. They act as a link between the people and the government. Opposition takes up the issues of the people if they are not satisfied with the working of the government. During elections, political parties place their programs and policies before the people to help them make their choice. In India, we have two kinds of political parties, national and regional. A national party is one which wins 2% of seats in Lok Sabha. As of 2014, 11 seats from at least 3 different states. At general election to Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly, the party polls 6% of votes in 4 states and in addition, it wins 4 Lok Sabha seats. The Congress, Bharatiya Janata Party are examples of national parties of our country. Trinamool Congress became the 7th political party to be recognized as a national party since September 2016. Regional parties are those political parties which operate within a specific area or region. As they cater the local aspirations, they are also called local parties. In their states, they are even stronger than the national parties. All India Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam, AIADMK, Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam, DMK, Haryana Vikas Party, Akali Dal, etc. are some of the examples of regional parties of India. Different types of party system. Single party. This kind of party system exists in most of the communist countries. In such countries, they do not allow other political parties to exist. Consequently, single-party government tends to be authoritarian or dictatorial. Bi-party. 2 major parties constitute a bi-party system. Example USA, Democrats and Republicans. USA has a presidential form of democratic government in which president is directly elected by the people. Multi-party. A multi-party system has many parties functioning at the same time. Example India. In India, we follow parliamentary democracy where the leader of the majority party is elected prime minister, whereas president is the nominal head of executive who is indirectly elected by an electoral college. Opposition parties. Political party or parties which form the government after getting people's mandate are known as ruling party. All other parties who are not the part of government are known as opposition parties. They have wide areas of duties, which are to expose anti-people activities of administration and government, formulation of public opinion, to act as responsible opposition party, to express popular emotions, to create political awakening. Different forms of democratic governments. On the basis of relations between the legislatures and executive, the democratic governments can be of two types. Parliamentary. This is the form of government in which the executive is responsible to the parliament for its work. Prime Minister is the real head of the government. He is elected by the people and is the leader of the majority party. In a parliamentary form of government, the president is the nominal head. Presidential. In presidential form of government, the president is elected directly by the people. The parliament has no control over the president. He is the real head of the government. A democratic government can also be unitary or federal, when all the powers are enjoyed by central government and provincial government are completely under the control of central government. Or, in other words, they merely act as the units of central government. Such setup is called unitary government, when the powers are divided between the central government and the provincial or state government, and both work independent of each other. One cannot interfere in the working of other. It is known as federal form of government. India has adopted federal structure, but it has unitary basis as central government enjoys more power than the state government. Significant elements of democracy are equality. No other form of government gives importance to the principle of equality of people. As a democratic government, nature has made all people equal, and this is the basis of democracy. No discrimination is made on the basis of caste, color, religion, creed, or place of birth. All are equal in the eyes of law, and the same law applies to all the people. All are given equal opportunity to hold public offices, and nobody is given special treatment. Only merit is given importance, and nobody is above the law. Freedom. This is another pillar of democracy, and without freedom or liberty, man cannot make his fullest development. Freedom of thought and expression, freedom of movement, freedom of press, and freedom to form association are enjoyed by the citizens only in a democratic form of government. These freedoms are essential for self-expression and development. Decision-making mechanism. In a democracy, decision-making mechanism lies in the hands of the people. People elect their representatives, which form the legislature, that passes various bills and makes laws according to which the country is governed. The majority party in the parliament forms the government, and other parties constitute opposition. If any government fails to serve the people, it can be changed in the next election, and in very special circumstances, mid-term poll may also be done. Accommodation of differences. In a democracy, elected representatives can express their views freely, and nothing can be imposed on the people. There are opposition parties in the legislature which oppose the government at any point. Thus, the spirit of democracy is based on tolerance and accommodation. Otherwise, it will become a dictatorship. Popular participation. In the absence of popular participation, democracy can neither be real nor fruitful. Popular participation means participation of people in the running of the government. When people are given the rights and opportunities to actively participate in the government activities without any discrimination, it is called popular participation, enhancing human dignity. It is only in a democracy that liberty, equality, and fraternity can be ensured. All efforts are made to ensure political and economic liberty. Similarly, in our country, equality in all spheres, social, political, and economic, has been assured to all its citizens. While social equality has been established by banning untouchability, economic equality is assured to people by banning all kinds of exploitation of weaker sections of society. Steps have been taken by the government for the welfare of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. Adequate arrangements have been made to give them representation in Lok Sabha and state assemblies through laws.